So, why would you want to go to your Akashic Records, either through a reader or on your own? What would be the purpose of going to the records? What kind of questions could you ask in the records? What kind of information could you get in the records? Um, Typically, when I'm doing an Akashic Records reading for somebody, I'm going to the records to ask about really big questions, soul level questions. What is my purpose? Why am I here? Is this my soulmate? Why do I have this strange relationship with this person in my life? Um, why do I keep encountering the same obstacles over and over again? Why are there certain patterns in my life? Um, am I on my path? Is the work that I'm doing really in alignment with what I came to do? Do I have any lessons that I came to learn this time? Are there any lessons that I came to teach this time? What's my role on the planet at this time? Do I have a particular connection to the shift in consciousness? Am I a star seed? Am I a light worker? Am I meant to do healing work or to do any type of vibrational work at this time? These are all the kinds of questions that you could get answers to in the Akashic Records. You can also get answers about the soul level component of an illness or of any tragedy or challenge in your life. So, what's the soul level information? Let's say I want to know why I got fired from my job. Well, there's a lot of earth reasons for that, right? It's probably that I had an incompatibility with some people at my job, or my job performance wasn't good enough, or they were downsizing, or etc. There's all kinds of earth reasons, practical earth reasons that just have to do with what's going on between individuals and finance and economies at this time, right? And you can probably find those out. But sometimes you have a bigger question like, okay, I spent 10 years training for this work, but every time I get hired in this field, things don't work out. And there's a pattern, right? That, okay, I got all my degrees, I'm qualified, I keep getting hired, but every time I get a job, either I'm not satisfied or they're not satisfied or something goes wrong. And so then the question might be, is this career really a part of my path? Is this really what I came to do? Because if it is, why am I encountering so many obstacles on this particular path? And so the soul level question is, how does this career relate to my path? Is this what I came to do? What do I need to shift or change in my career to put myself on my path? And once you're on your path, then it's amazing how doors open and things just happen. And when you're not on your path, you can find yourself encountering just so many obstacles and limitations. The same kind of question can be asked about relationships. An earth level question about relationship is, why did so and so break up with me? Or why do I have a hard time meeting the right person? Why do I keep attracting the same type of person? Um, why did my marriage end? Why did my why do I not get along with my siblings? Why does my father and I always fight? And there might be some earth level answers like, well, certain incompatibilities, different wishes, different emotional levels, maybe some psychological work needs to be done on unearthing what your issues are. Maybe some childhood trauma needs to be addressed. Maybe some old limiting beliefs or old family patterns need to be addressed, right? And those can all be addressed in the here and now, right, on earth, just looking at, psychological components of your life. But what if you have a soul level question? Okay, let's say you have children and you have always, since they were born, you have always had a preference for one child over another, or you have always felt extremely protective of one child and not worried about the other child. You have always been afraid that one of the children is going to die and the other one's going to be fine. You've always felt that one child is going to be successful and the other one is not. You have had these kind of strong, deep, intuitive feelings which are irrational and not based on data. And they have affected certain relationships, whether it's your children or your siblings or your parents. Or there are patterns, right? That you're not just unlucky in love, for example.
but that you always date the same person, or that your relationships always end the same way, or you always have the same exact type of problem. You always attract the same type of person, even when you think you're not. Or your sister and you have a conflict that you have had since you can remember, since you were small children, and you don't have that conflict with your other sister or your brother or anyone else in your life, but just that one person, and it doesn't seem like there's any way to fix it. Although you may have been able to fix similar problems with other people in other relationships in your life, you have this one relationship where there's just this really intense interaction that doesn't seem to be explainable in terms of things that have actually happened. Like someone betrays you, you feel betrayed by them, then you don't trust them. There you go. There's a perfect explanation for why you might not trust somebody. But what about someone who's never done anything to you, but you still have this feeling like they're going to betray me or they can't be trusted? In that case, there's probably something else going on a higher level. There's a soul connection, there's a spiritual connection. You might have a past life together, you might have a soul contract together. And looking into soul contracts, what kind of agreements have we made with other souls that we've now incarnated with on this planet? That's the kind of thing you can find out about in the Akashic Records. Also, if you have some very intense feelings about a person in your life that's, again, not really based on anything that's happened, that's something that might have a soul level explanation. For example, I've had clients come to me and they have this really intense fear that one of their children is going to die, and then it turns out we go into a past life and the child died tragically or very young in a past life, and they've carried that fear over into this life. Or you have someone who's in a relationship and they feel like they can't leave their romantic partner even though the relationship doesn't serve them and it's not a healthy relationship, and they just can't seem to leave. We go into the Akashic Records and we find out that those two souls have lived multiple lifetimes together, and that there was some kind of a vow that was made in a previous life about, oh, I'm never going to leave you. I promise I will never leave you. And then they come into this life with that vow, and it doesn't really match the experience. They've vowed to stay with somebody who really isn't good for them. So that's an example of a contract that could have been made. Sometimes people make contracts for the purpose of working on a particular issue, and that then might manifest in ways that seem irrational. Like, I have to stay in this small town in Illinois for the entirety of my life. I cannot move, no matter how many job offers I get in other cities, no matter how much they pay, no matter how many people I meet who want me to move somewhere else with them. I can never, ever leave, Spoducket, Illinois. Why? That's irrational. Why can't you leave this little town? Well, it might turn out that you have a soul contract that has to do with something that you have promised to fulfill on that land base, or in regards to the people that live in that small town, that you have a contract with those people. Maybe you had a past life with the same souls in a different place, and you all decided to reincarnate in this little village, this little town, for the purpose of working out some soul level issues or karma. And so on a soul level that if you leave that town, you won't complete that contract, which means you'll have to come back and complete it in another lifetime. So, there are different things like that, different, soul contracts, life purpose issues, soul relationships, we call them soulmates or soul family issues, that you can actually get information about in the Akashic Records. And you might not be able to make sense of those things in terms of just earth questions. And so if you go to a therapist, or you just kind of use your brain to think and analyze and critically assess, okay, why is this happening? You may not be able to come up with a solution, but then you go to the records and you get this bigger picture, and you get this soul level picture of how this particular issue in your current life is explained by a larger purpose of your soul, by the purpose of this life, by a soul contract, or a lesson that you came to learn. And when you get that larger picture and you get that answer to those questions, it allows you to make changes in your life here, in the here and now, because you're more informed. It just kind of gives you a bigger context from which to analyze the situation and to make decisions.